whoever is designing the playlist has taken a lot of consideration for making sure that the music matches the aura of the game. I think they also have, man, there was an old NBA Street game that has They Reminisce Over You. And if you go to the YouTube comment section for that song, it's just everybody saying, man, I remember playing NBA with this song, man. This song bring back memories. And you throw on some and you hooping and you thinking that you win that old NBA Street game. You know what I'm saying?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Players and Protagonists channel. My name's Talisman, and I'm here with my family, Mars, Cobra, Visions, T, and Loa. First off, thanks everybody who's a returning viewer, and welcome to all the new viewers that we have on the channel today. In today's episode of Ooh Tell 'em, our topic will be the world of video game soundtracks, where we'll be discussing things that we like, some of the best music that we've heard throughout the years, and overall, what is our favorite music from the video game world. Before we jump in, if you love our content and you like what we're doing, please use the link in the description to follow us on Discord, and you can give us suggestions for episodes or figure out what we're doing on the weekends when we like to play games with each other as well. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it.
Word.
Okay.
I mean, I could go ahead and ask some questions to y'all since I proposed the topic as well. So yeah, we talking about video game soundtracks, and I really just want to know, in y'all opinion, what makes a good video game soundtrack?
That's honestly for me, anything that pulls me into the actual story. So like when I start to feel like the music goes hand in hand, like I always bring up Dark Souls and stuff like that with good sound design, and Elden Ring. More so Dark Souls though. But anyway, mostly because Elden Ring has the open field, and so you get music and stuff on the field. But Dark Souls, I really appreciate that it's not just the music, but the sound that is done throughout that game. And then when you get to a boss is when music really happens. Like when you're walking through the forest and stuff, you just hear the forest, you hear the monsters, you hear things like that. But then you're getting to a boss because the fog opens and it's like dum 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 dum, and you know that like something's popping up.
You like when developers use the absence of music to make the presence of music more impactful.
Exactly. Yes, I was gonna say same thing with Monster Hunter. They do a very similar thing where you know what monster you're about to pull up on because the music changes to whatever that monster's theme is. Or like what's his name, Khezu. In the case of him, because he has no ears, you don't get music. So just the way you not only the soundtrack, but the way you play with music. Yeah,
I never noticed
that's
that.
a little info drop. I
Where's that
didn't.
from?
Yeah, that's a cool tip.
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter. Yeah,
So he has no ears?
yeah. He has no ears. The like weird white slimy
Khezu
dude.
is gross.
Yeah, he's gross.
Oh,
May I be not the first or the last to say Khezu is gross.
I
But
didn't know
also
he didn't have
kind of
ears.
cool.
but
But I
Yeah,
love
I mean-
that they were
In a
intentional
nasty
about that.
sausage veiny kind of way.
what?
Mari said he's kind of cool. And I said
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the way
she's a
that
Now
it's
you
cool.
took all the coolness away from
Oh.
him. Thank you.
In
Thank you.
case
Hey,
no one
yo.
has noticed, she's the weird one.
Now, one thing's for sure though, for when it comes to gaming music, T, I don't know if it's because of the recent games that I played, but I've been a sucker for those games that had like mostly they don't have lyrics, but they sound holy in a way, like Sephiroth's theme, for example, or Dungeon Fighter Online has a lot of the songs where it's like someone in the background just doing.
So fun fact.
And
Fun
it's
fact.
just like,
Those songs do have lyrics. They're just sang in Latin. So you
okay,
might be a
yeah, I
fan,
think.
But you
that
like
might mean that you
operatic.
enjoy music that's showing up in other languages, so you don't have to hyper focus on what's being said.
Okay, yeah. That's,
Get this
that's
guy
valid.
Hey.
a degree.
That's a valid
Hey,
thing.
man said anything he can't understand is gibberish.
Yeah.
But he likes it.
That man said that. I didn't say that.
You said it was peak. You said anything you can't understand is peak. That's what I heard.
Yeah.
It's
that's what I said.
Okay.
You say so.
No, but I definitely agree that sometimes when I listen to music in other languages, it's easier for me to enjoy the actual music or the production more so than focusing on the lyrics. But then
Yeah.
you learn interesting things about the composition or the words, and it all comes together. It all
Yup.
comes together.
I also think the Splatoon albums are very, very popular. Like to the point where they do like virtual concerts where they'll have
Yeah,
them
that's
on
scary.
stage stuff like that, and they be sold out. But I think it speaks to your point of music transcending language, because Splatoon literally is not a language.
This is gibberish.
It
sound like
Animal
they're
Crossing.
I
Yes,
was about
it's
to say,
basically
Animal
Animal
Crossing.
Crossing, but they have
That
like
Reminds
legit,
me of Animal Crossing.
yeah. But if you look at like the studio production of it, they have legit singers in the studio. They're just actually making gibberish noises, or they like speed it up so that you can't tell that they were once words.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that you called that out, because I think that's a very popular game soundtrack across all three of them that is legit not actual human words.
Now that you brought
Well,
up
real
KK
quick-
Well, if
Slider.
you slow it down,
I know,
there
right?
might actually be words.
Oh, subliminal.
Also,
Talking
Illuminati.
about
Like Missy,
gibberish, gibberish songs, though. I was about to say, didn't Sims do the same thing? Like they'll to do covers of popular songs.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
gibberish.
And it sounds
Yeah,
like-
was just about
Simlish.
I was just about to
Yeah.
ask, like, is it better the more it's less like modern music, or like the less like not necessarily modern, but like the less like the less it actually sounds like what we listen to, like more fantastic? Is it better when it's that way, or do you like it more when it's closer to stuff that we currently listen to throughout like our days?
Dang, I think that ties for me. That reminds me of like what Mars was saying. I think it depends on the environment and the specific, aura that's going around in the game or in the city. Like if I'm playing a game that takes place in modern New York, I wouldn't be thrown off if I was hearing rap music or something, or like GTA.
That'd be heat.
I'm not
That'd be
when
heat.
I'm
yeah, I was
walking
just
around and I
thinking
hear
GTA.
like music in GTA. That doesn't throw me off. But if I heard GTA music in like, I don't know, Elden Ring,
Keeping it G ain't nothing. You ain't gotta like it cause the hood don't love. You ain't gotta like it cause the hood don't love.
then obviously the vibes are clashing, and that's when I would want more fantastical sounding music. So I think for
Yeah.
me, it depends on the aura.
Word.
I agree,
And
'cause-
I think a
Sure.
good
Yeah.
example. Oh wait, who wants to go?
Oh no,
No,
go
go
ahead.
Well, I was
Like,
just gonna
talked
say,
a lot.
like, you asked what makes game music good for us or in our eyes, and for me, it's like that anticipation, like building up something. You know something's about to happen. Mine is like Final Fantasy. You're cruising, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh no, man, dang, I got caught. Or
So
even
you're kind of
Kingdom
like in the
Hearts.
same realm that Mars is in, where you like the lack of music to build up to the anticipation of the combat music, right? Or like the
No,
tense music
I
shows
just
up.
like, I want music that's like la 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 la, everything's going smooth, great. Hey, we're having a great day today, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, 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 you know,
Yeah,
Kingdom
okay.
Hearts.
Yeah,
Like
And it's like,
switch up.
hey,
that's real. And then thinking about Tally's question, I think it depends on, the genre of the game, the environment. But I mean, I'm a sucker for both. I think for me, it's really the pattern recognition. And I think that's really what gets me into the video game music. I think also the emotions of the song and everything like that, the instruments and the leitmotifs and everything that folks be saying, all the music nerds be saying. But I mean, like when I play a Sonic game and they pull out a rock song and they doing they rock music, I'm just like, okay, cool, this is heat. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm playing other games that try to incorporate some rap into it, I'm like, this is cool. I rock with this. I think really what matters to me, if it's gonna be based off of genres that I'm listening to in real life, is just making sure that it's quality execution put into it. Because I think there's a difference between the rap music I listen to and then corporate sounding rap music, which has like one or two very specific flows. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's interesting that you brought up Sonic, because I was just thinking about what type of soundtrack I do like more in video games. And at first I was leaning like, no, I think I do like when it's less what I would listen to in my day to day. But Sonic is actually a perfect example of music done well that is also music that I listen to in my day to day. Like I like rock, I like rap. I think they did a good job of merging like Sonic's themes, the pop themes that Amy and Tails tend to have, and of course the rap that Knuckles tends to have. And they aren't. I think for me the key is, because you mentioned GTA and I was like, yeah, for some reason those don't really feel like video game soundtracky to me, because we're just pulling soundtracks that exist in the real world into a game. But Sonic is a good example of incorporating styles of music that we tend to listen to on the day-to-day in a way that it is now a video game soundtrack. And I think that's where that differentiation happens in my head for me. Because when you mentioned GTA, I was like, that's like Tony Pro or Tony Hawk. They have just like a bunch of random songs that exist in the real life as the soundtrack. And I'm just like, okay, I'm listening to I don't know.
Also a
skate
great
push.
soundtrack.
I'm going
It
with
is.
I was
Don't
going
get me
with
wrong. I'm not
GTA.
saying I'm not saying it's
I
a
was
bad
going to say
soundtrack.
GTA because
Yeah.
when you hear that dun dun dun, you know that's GTA.
Yeah.
Now,
Oh, you're
when
talking
you're
about
in
like
your
the opening
car,
thing, yeah.
yeah, you know that's GTA. That is in the
Crime
sound.
music.
But when you
Crime
are in the
music.
car, maybe depending on what kind of mission you're on, you don't want to. Maybe you switch to cowboy or rock or something, which could be
Mhm.
your soundtrack for that mission. So I beg to differ.
Yeah. No,
I think
I
GTA can
I
provide
think
different
it
soundtracks.
can be. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I do agree. I think just for me, I've never put like when I've considered my favorite video game soundtracks, the ones that are compilations of music, even if they have songs that I like Tony Hawk has Push by Lupe in it,
Mhm.
and I love that song.
Coast.
But yeah, Coast. But in my head, it's a compilation of music, not like a game OST or a game soundtrack. And I think that's how my brain makes that separation. Even though I agree that it doesn't mean the music isn't good or that it doesn't suit a particular need. It just doesn't fall into my like, oh, this is a great soundtrack because of how this compilation was put together.
It's funny that
I
you
hear
say
that.
that because a lot of sports game soundtracks that just incorporate real life music kind of get a lot of those songs kind of get associated with that game in a funny way, like Paradise City by Guns N' Roses. I
Take me
think
down
explicitly
to
of Burnout
Paradise
Paradise, like I'm like
Yeah.
that's a real
Mhm.
song and everything, but anytime I hear them, I'm like, hey yo, that's the Burnout song.
Yeah,
Exactly,
And
exactly.
it's interesting because even though a lot of the soundtracks for these games are just playlists, whoever is designing the playlist has taken a lot of consideration for making sure that the music matches the aura of the game. I think they also have, man, there was an old NBA Street game that they reminisce over you. And if you go to the YouTube comment section for that song, it's just everybody saying, man, I remember playing NBA with this song, man. This song bring back memories. And it's such a good
Uh-huh.
vibe to see that.
That's
But I
classic.
kind of see it like, now as you go hooping and you throw on something and you hooping and you thinking that you win that old
You
NBA
have that
Street
vibe.
game, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yep, 100%. There are definitely some games for me that got connected to the songs that were with them. I mean, look at Utada Hikaru. I was introduced to her through Kingdom Hearts, and then later, here we are, years down the line, and I've listened to plenty of her music, plenty of her albums. But when people say her name, the first thing that comes to my mind is her, connection to games. So
That's true.
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm trying to think of something that we
I
have
was-
the cliche.
I could go on a whole rant about Kingdom Hearts.
You know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
What
Kingdom
about
Hearts-
what about Jane d'Arc?
They were a group, yes.
Yes, but is that how you say that? I didn't want to mispronounce it.
I
It's
think so.
French.
The RJ
Yeah, it's
train.
like-
Anyway,
I looked this up once. It's not quite that, but it's close enough. They all, look, I think they separated anyway. They don't care.
they don't care. Well, there are plenty of like J-Rock's groups that I wouldn't have listened to if I wasn't introduced to it through playing Dirge of Cerberus. And
That's
I
true.
think that got me into listening to a lot of Hyde and into the
Yeah.
world of J-Rock.
Sounds like a lot of y'all are Final Fantasy nerds. I ain't gonna hold you.
Just a
It's
little.
not. Well, first of all, I would say Square Enix nerds more than Final Fantasy, which I
Gee
reject.
Louise,
But I would say if I
the
was
whole
going to put it,
company,
I
huh?
put it under the whole umbrella of Square.
Final
But no,
Fantasy,
I do
here I am.
agree. Yeah, I was going to mention Final Fantasy 2, and now I feel like I shouldn't. But the reason I got more into Gact is because he was in the original Crisis Core. He was, what was that man's name? What was his name in the actual game? I can't remember. Dude, he always wore red. But anyway, he was designed after Gact, and that's what got me into
Oh,
looking
that's
more
very
into Gact.
cool. That connection of you seeing Gact and being like, oh yeah, look, it's Sephiroth's homeboy.
Speaking of Sephiroth, I do want to take a second to talk about One Winged Angel. Now this
Is
Yes.
that the Sephiroth song?
Yeah,
It
now
is.
this isn't a song you're gonna catch me
Oh.
having on my everyday playlist, because if I'm listening to One Winged Angel just chilling, that means I'm probably up to no good. And I don't have it on my but
Demon
I
time.
think
gotta
the
ask, I
crafting
gotta
of that
ask.
song, is so magnificent because Sephiroth is this character who's seen as broken, twisted, scary, powerful, and they even incorporate like sounds from classic horror movies like the dun 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 dun, things like that. You hear that in other horror movies, And it's really cool that they have that build up to show the presence of Sephiroth. And then once they start building into who he is as a person, they have the Latin language, the Latin lyrics that's doing the and I really like that because it becomes so iconic to the point where you don't even need to know the lyrics, but you know, if you hear that melody, you getting cooked. You know what I'm saying? You hear the instrumental remix of it. You're playing Kingdom Hearts and you see Sephiroth. You don't even need to play Final Fantasy. You just see that anime character with the long silver hair and the long sword, and everybody knows, oh, this dude's a menace. I could just tell by the music. I remember when he pulled up on Smash. That was one of the best reveals in Smash, in my opinion, because his music carries so much energy to it, just the way that they built up to his character.
What up, everybody? It's your boy Talisman, and I'm here to give a huge thank you to everybody for making it this far in the video. As a quick reminder, if you're feeling our content and really want to put us on, go ahead down there and like and subscribe. Y'all already know how the algorithm be, so this will get us seen by more eyes and put us on the platform even more. So it would be a big favor to us if you went down there and used the links, went to the Discord, subscribed, and followed on all of our platforms. Again, we want to give a huge thank you to everybody for supporting us and seeing us come this far, and we're even going to turn it up further for you guys later. Peace.
So speaking of, well, not really, but kind of One Winged Angel and just like music transitions and switch ups, one of the other things I really enjoy about game OSTs is when they take the same like bass music and alter it a little bit based on like who you might be fighting. Like the Tales of series does a really good job of this. Tales of the Abyss is probably one of my favorites, but they have the song that kind of like it's like the titular do 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 song that plays throughout Tales of the Abyss. But they remix it several times for like battle music for the important bad guys that you end up fighting. I think the last final fight that you do against like Vaughn and them is called like Finish the Promise, but it's just like this kind of almost sad, somber version. But it plays through like different versions of the song as you're going through the fight. So it starts off like very intense, like doom, doom, you're in a battle, and then as you're kind of like nearing the end of it, it kind of like slows down, like you know that it's coming to the end. So it's interesting to see that type like music and the same type of songs played within that way. Fire Emblem is another one that does that really well. But there's a couple of RPGs, specifically RPGs I could think of.
Maybe that's
Mario,
an RPG trope.
I think it is.
Mario,
Yo, you ain't even play that game.
I didn't.
But Mario as a whole, their sound, like if you listen to like the no, all of those songs are like based off the same notes and then just like sped up and slowed down and slightly altered. So a lot of the Mario soundtrack is kind of like the same song altered.
That's wild.
I do have to ask, when and how did you figure this out?
I like to look up video game music and listen to it in my spare time.
Sometimes people just point it out.
That's not too crazy to say.
Sometimes people point it out, like, I think the musical term for that, I don't know how to say the word. I'm going to say it two different ways, and I'll let folks in the comments correct me. Leitmotif, one of those. Leitmotif.
What was that?
Litmof.
Whoa.
The
Litmo, yeah, the Litmo.
It is Latin.
I'm gonna just say the limo. But that's a musical term where the theme shows up in multiple musical compositions.
And I am glad y'all are talking about that, because Mars, when you was talking about that, the first thing that come to mind, so first and foremost, what I'm about to talk about, T knows more about it, so you could probably go more in depth about it. But talking about Dungeon Fighter again, Dungeon Fighter does this a lot for their final bosses. Bakal, for example, has this music that you hear like maybe 3 years ago, and they resurfaced it and remixed it, where it's exactly what you said. It's a remix of it, but the feelings are more amplified. It relates more to Bakal, and it's almost as if the music tells a story. It tells the progression of the story that you're going through, and I think that's powerful. I love that.
Yeah, DFO does that a few times. They do a lot of musical callbacks. There's a boss that they just released, and like the tail end of the boss's theme song is like a electronic remix of the DFO main theme song, because the storytelling around it is like you're fighting somebody during the inception of your current universe's versions of God. So it's like this is where everything began type stuff.
I do love stuff like that. Musical, sometimes just the musical callbacks are fun. Donkey Kong does that a lot. Bonanza, like the amount of times they remix the, what is it, the Jungle Groove, whatever that is, the banana, banana.
Hey,
It has so many, like the jazzy
Yeah.
mix, it's got a
Man.
rocky one, it's got, and I don't know, I never get tired of that song, first of all, but I love seeing the different ways that they remixed it based on like what level you're on and what power you're using and stuff like that.
So would it be crazy to say when it comes to music and sound design that Nintendo kind of got that on lock? Because I'm just thinking about like, don't think so? Who y'all think got it on
I'm
lock?
not
Who y'all
gonna-
think?
I think they all in their own
I
way.
think they got their
okay?
brand on lock. Like I think they
Yeah.
got their style on lock. For
Yeah,
sure.
I think
okay.
there's a Nintendo.
Nintendo
style
be
of
having the
music,
bop
though.
shit.
They're not doing
That's
like
what I'm saying.
just like
really
we said,
comes
like
through,
one
though.
wing
Sega
angle is
be
like
having a
really
jug.
a very specific bag. Like think about like Square for sure has like their whole own bag, because one of my favorites is Nier Automata, like the Nier
Yeah,
series
Nier.
has some of the best like music in my opinion.
Is the Nier
But
soundtrack
also-
in Latin?
No, it's in its own language. It's in its
See,
own
that's what
fictional
I thought.
language.
That's cold. That's what I'm talking about. Proceed,
Yeah.
my bad.
Yeah, no, you're good. But
They're
that's
just making
like
things up.
I feel like there's like different legs of places that kind of have like certain things, but Nintendo's definitely its own vibe. And I think when it comes to like that family fun, that like broad range of different musical styles and genres, like Nintendo definitely has that a lot. Like they make their own version of genres that's, you know, upbeat or, you know, in line with what they have their marketing and their branding as for all of their characters. So I definitely,
Yeah.
I definitely
I feel
think
like
it's
there's always
that.
a ding somewhere, like a ping in some point of some song with Nintendo.
Mm.
I feel like a
okay.
call.
It's
like
the
a Pharrell-
brainwashing.
like a Pharrell note type of thing. But
Light
Nintendo
switch
version.
too.
Yo,
For real.
But real quick, are we considering Nintendo to just be Nintendo core? Like, are we talking just like purely Donkey Kong, Mario, Pikmin, or are we talking about like Pokemon Company, Game Freak? Because if we're level
I'm thinking
5,
that
because if
too.
we're
I'm thinking, like,
including,
all, like-
if we're talking about all encompassing, then that's hard. Because if we
Everything
start
that
talking
the
about
sun
Xenoblade soundtrack, Fire Emblem soundtrack, Pokemon soundtrack is fantastic.
Pokemon got some
Like a
scary
Pokemon
shit.
soundtrack has
Yeah.
not missed. So I think it is hard. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Square Enix too. I think if anything, just RPGs, and Legend of Zelda has
Yep.
an amazing soundtrack
Mhm.
too. So maybe it's more of an RPG thing, or maybe I do think there's something about larger Japanese companies really focusing on orchestrative soundtracks, and I think that does a lot of work for them too. So maybe that's
Mhm.
more what it is. Because if we start talking about
orchestra.
every leg of Nintendo, I don't know.
That's a big company.
tough.
That's a big
And
company.
that's a
understand.
lot of different. I don't know. That's a lot
So
of different
that
people.
makes sense.
I don't
though.
understand how Mars
Yeah,
has the
that I really
time
like.
to know all of this. Like,
When you start playing
It
games,
makes
you
sense.
just start
Like,
you haven't
recognizing
even been on the
things.
Earth this long.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like,
Excuse you.
you're like, I know that composer.
What?
I know
You just
that
start-
composer.
How you know
But
Nintendo?
but
You
video
haven't been
games.
on the Earth.
That's a
Okay,
lot
okay.
of stuff. Like
Yeah.
to know composers and put them by game, not just
Yeah.
genre, but by company. Oh, this composer obviously has a deal with this company. I can tell their
Mhm.
music. You know,
Yeah.
like
I mean, you know, rappers
just to
and,
sit there and, like,
music
really know
labels,
that is something.
you know,
Like at some
rappers
point,
and
Yeah.
go ahead, tell me my bad.
basketball people. No, I was just saying, like, you know, basketball players and rappers and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
I
it's
know
just,
like
you
5
know, when
basketball
that's what it
players,
is.
a couple composers, but there's
But-
just so many games,
But
and I
you've
never
never
really
listened
thought
to an
to
album.
look.
You've never listened to an album and you're like, oh, this sounds like it's produced by the Neptunes, or this sounds like a Mustard Beat, or this sounds like
Like
Metro
this is definitely
Boomin,
a Pharrell album. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
At
Yeah.
some
It's
like
point,
the
you
same
just
concept.
listen to enough of it where you start understanding the composer's signature sounds. Like, for example, the person who does Kingdom Hearts music, they love violins. There's always going to be a violin coming in somewhere, right? So you're going to be playing the game, you're going to be like, okay, no, the Kingdom Hearts folks is definitely on this. And then you Google it and they're on it. But it's really the same way as finding a producer. You know, they have their own patterns and rhythms. And as you listen to, you're like, okay, this sounds familiar. And
Yeah.
you got it.
I think that's
That's
the
kinda
other
cool. I'm
piece
gonna start
that,
paying
and then
attention
I'll
to
let
that.
us transition. To your point, there are a lot of composers that do, like I know Homegirl, whose name I'm forgetting, that does Kingdom Hearts, has done some of the Mario RPG soundtracks. So I do think that there is also some overlap in composers. And so it's less like what company does the best music and what composer is on what game that really brings it to life.
I also wanted to bring up how certain games use juxtaposition to add like to the environment or like a moment, right? Like I think a good example of this is like Horizon Zero Dawn and also like Breath of the Wild, like the new age Zelda stuff that we're getting. Horizon Zero Dawn, because it's like, you know, they kind of show you it's a primitive survival world, but with like technical influence. They use a lot of electronic music. Which is like really interesting because in most like primitive settings you get more, you know, ancestral type sounds and like more primitive instrumentation. So that really lended itself to the idea that, hey, this is still like a technology based world. They're just using it in a different context than it was initially created. So you get lots of cool blending of both kinds of music throughout that whole game, and it really like creates a good like sound structure. And I think another good one, which still goes in the orchestratic way, is Zelda, like in Tears of the Kingdom and in Breath of the Wild. Like when I first opened the game, you know, I thought I was gonna get, like, I hadn't even seen anything about Breath of the Wild when I bought it. I was like, oh, this is the new one. Okay, cool, got it. And I'm playing it, and it opens up, and I'm hearing like, okay, this is like a normal adventure game sound, and then once you start progressing, the way that the piano is played, the way that the sounds come in, they make it sound more robotic. Like when you have to get into a fight, or when you're chased by a robot or a particular enemy, they have more like technology kind of sounding notes, and the way that they're playing it is more rigid and structured, but it also blends in with the like regular adventure fantasy music as well when they go into like a lot of the cool scenes. But I mean, Zelda has been amazing with that like forever, but it was just really cool to see a more a more futuristic technology based kind of like thought being put into the sound when it came to those two games, and it really impacted how they felt as you played through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love when soundtracks use specific sounds or instruments to represent very specific things.
Or even like you said, the weird in between, like you mentioned Horizon, Xenoblade Chronicles is part of why I like that soundtrack. 3 and X both do that, where they merge kind of like new age music, like even throwing rap in there with more fantastical music, because it's kind of a similar concept. You're in this like post-apocalyptic world where you've all left Earth and rebuilt your society on a new Earth. So you've got these technological advances, but at the same time, you're still dealing with like the giant prehistoric beasts that roam this unknown planet. So they do a good job of like mixing that fantastic with but it's the year 2098 or whatever it is.
I think
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed is really good at that too. Like, you know what's coming, you know what's about to happen. You know when you open a door where you know,
Hmm.
like the orchestra, it's probably the violin, maybe, I don't know. But there's an instrument that you just know you're in trouble.
I like that you brought up Assassin's Creed. And I know we've been talking about a lot of like RPGs and Japanese games, but I also want to give a shout out to Insomniac. I've been replaying Ratchet and Clank a lot recently, and I love that the old Ratchet and Clank games, like the first one, had this very vibe, experimental, upbeat rhythm to a lot of the stuff, and sometimes it was very reminiscent of Spyro, but it had this cartoony adventure vibe with a little bit of like James Bond incorporated into it. And then the second and third one, because the story got getting more techno based, the music wasn't techno, but the music started getting sharper. And you still had the silliness of the original game's music going on, but a lot of the parts of the music was more intense because you was an actual war this time. You know what I'm saying? And I really like that they took that evolution to make the music evolve with the stakes that was happening in the game. And it's interesting because I know a lot of the Ratchet and Clank's newer soundtracks are more orchestra, And it really still matches the vibe. I know it's a complete vibe shift because the first 3 Ratchet and Clank games were cartoony, blow 'em up type stuff, and the newer ones are more, these full-on graphical. You're playing through a Pixar movie type thing, and it kind of makes sense that the music shifted with the dynamics of the way the game is presented. But I also like that they made sure that the vibes were matching whatever delivery they wanted at the time.
We didn't even add Persona to the conversation, but I guess that'll be for the next time.
I'm in the house.
We talk about Persona enough on this channel.
Yeah, we were trying to get somebody else to look.
I'm in the house like carpet.
I'm in the house like carpet.
But yes, honorable mention to all of Persona SMT. Like, they clearly know what they're doing
Metaphor.
with the soundtrack. We're trying to give Metaphor, obviously. We were trying to
Yeah.
give other people their time to shine. Okay, we know they got it on
Absolutely.
lock for real.
They all get their flowers.
For
Yes.
sure. And on that note, guys, we're going to end the episode here. Thanks to everybody who spent time with us today and watched our conversation about video game music. If you guys would like, you can always go in the comments and let us know some of your favorite OSTs, your favorite soundtracks, or songs that we have produced and that are in games that you love to this day. We'd love to hear from you guys. And that's it for us. Peace out.